Welcome to the Sons of Saturday Military Bowl pregame live show. I'm here in Annapolis. We've got a good crew over at the Graduate Hotel. We're hanging out. Thanks for hopping in the chat. If you're watching on X, make sure to pop over onto YouTube. You can add your comments to the stream, and we'll make sure we get you right in there. If I didn't say it already, I'm Pete B, and it's loud in here, so I can barely hear myself think. Hopefully y'all can hear me okay. If you can, shoot me a, hey, Pete, you sound good, and we'll keep moving forward. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the Sons of Saturday channel if you haven't already. I apologize for the harsh lighting, but it might actually be helping me out right now. I don't know. Like I said, we are at the Graduate Hotel in Annapolis getting ready for the Tulane bowl game, Virginia Tech Military Bowl. It's going to be awesome. The weather is not so awesome, but I'm happy we're indoors. I got a beer here. I might have to ask Billy Ray to get me a refill in a second. We're going to get Billy Ray on the show. We're going to get Pat on the show. We're going to get a bunch of other people sliding through. I'm going to start with a couple of news and notes. The first one is Grant Wells announced, or I should say Brent Pry announced, Grant Wells will be moving on from the team, and he's not going to be back next year. That's something you can see. You are looking live.
You are looking live.
Kathy, we got 27 people watching in the chat right now. Hopefully you can see. Thank you, Alex.
It's great to see all 27 of you. Kevin from Virginia, Alex Bunnell, and Drew Whitson, my boys.
That's right. We got Pat here. We got Billy Ray here. And I was just talking about how Grant Wells isn't going to be back this year. I guess that's not a huge loss, but I was curious your thoughts. Who will be QB2 next year?
I think a lot of people want to see Pop Watson play today.
Yeah.
That's not my prediction, but I think a lot of people are going to want to see some snaps out of our guy, Pop Watson. Billy Ray, who do you think is QB2 next year?
QB2 next year, because we're losing Grant Wells.
That's a really good question.
Right. Like, is it going to be Dylan Witke? Could it be Pop Watson, who we saw excel in the spring game?
Should we hit the portal and just surprisingly stack?
I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be Pop Watson. Give Dobby Belfort a red shirt. I think it's going to be Pop Watson. Look, Kyron Drones is about 245 pounds of muscle. I don't see any reason why he can't get through the season. You got Pop Watson to come in, whatever. I think it's Pop Watson. It's gotta be. It's gotta be.
That seems like the likely choice, but he's a little slight. He's a little undersized, but he did show that flash in the spring game. But that's just an interesting note as we move forward into next year, because a lot of times it is hard for quarterbacks to stay healthy for 12 games.
Do we want to do a quick Annapolis scout?
Absolutely.
Here, so my as you know, Jackson is a Naval Academy graduate. So for Virginia Tech fans that aren't here, can you paint the picture of Annapolis and kind of the Navy Marine Corps Stadium and whatnot?
There we go. Just gonna say Annapolis is the best college town in the world. Semper Fidelis. Okay. Happy to have the Virginia Tech family here. That's all I got.
That's okay. But have you partied in this town before? Have you been here to drink and hang out before?
4 years worth of it.
Okay, that's right. So Jackson was in the Naval Academy. This is my first time meeting him, so I'm still kind of getting to know the guy. This is Billy Ray's brother. Now, here's the thing about Jackson. His name's Jackson Lee. We got Billy Ray. Their dad, he went full hick with the names. He went straight Southern with the two names.
We got to finish our beers.
We got to finish our beers. Here you go. Cheers. A little drip never hurt anyone. Jackson, if you have any more comments on the town, on your time at the Naval Academy, any major observations we should know about?
So everybody who's in town for the game, Acme, go to Acme after the game. That's the spot. Annapolis is awesome. Maybe not the best college town. That might have been embellishment on my part. I tended to do that.
Second to Blacksburg.
We'll go with that. That's all I got. Semper Fidelis, go Hokies.
Pete, one last one I got for you.
Oh, yeah.
The game preview, and we got Coach Beamer here for the game preview.
Oh, yeah. This is great. I've always wanted to interview Coach Beamer. How do you feel like the guys will come out today after that little bit of a layoff?
Yeah.
You think they're going to be fired up?
I think the guys will be ready.
Yeah.
I think these guys, when you go across breakers, like a green wave, you just kind of get on your boogie board and you hop on and you ride down. And I think that's what we're going to do today.
We're going to ride that green
Those
wave
guys,
all the way to victory.
They're going to be at you. And you really got to block and you got to tackle and you've got to be able to throw the ball. This rain, we'll be all right.
Well,
go, man, go. Questions.
Old school Virginia Tech football is that run game. We would relish the opportunity to play in the conditions. Do you think that Brent Pry has these guys ready to go in an old school kind of vibe, in an old school kind of Virginia Tech way today?
I think he's got them. I think he's got them tuned up pretty good. I think you got that guy like Tootin. He's a guy that really likes to lay it on these guys. Stiff arm and hit them pretty good. And those guys are going to deliver.
They're going to deliver.
And you got the hey. Have you met the bad boys?
I have.
Those guys.
I met those bad boys.
Those guys, they're going to be after it today. All right? That ball will be. Have you ever played the game of darts?
I have.
Kyron Drones is going to be throwing darts 80 yards down the field. Jalen Lane's going to say, yes, sir. Bullseye. Come at me.
Drone strike, if you will.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go, man, go.
Listen, forget about the rain. Coach Beamer, you heard it here first. That passing game is going to be on point.
Yeah.
The running game, the complementary football. That's what Coach Pry likes to say.
We're going to have hard conversations. We're going to have some complimentary football. That's what we're going to have.
Relationships are very important to this guy. All right, we're doing a little Tulane pregame show.
Pete, I got one more.
We've got everyone here. Billy Ray's provided me with guest after guest. I think we got another one coming in.
No, you got to come out. You got to come over here and make your point. Make your point. So my pops made a very good academic point about this game.
So I'm just wondering.
You got to speak into here.
I'm just wondering, right? If you compare all the bowl games this year, right? And you take Virginia Tech's average SAT and you add it to Tulane's average SAT, might not this be the top SAT bowl of the year?
It is very possible. For those of you that don't know, Tulane is a very fine academic institution. They also happen to win the Cotton Bowl last year, have 11 wins in football this year. Both of these two schools bring a lot of academic prowess to the table, and that is a point well taken by Russ Mitchell. Thank you, Russ. I want to talk a little bit about the game. Since we're sitting here, we got you guys in the chat. Make sure you keep getting your comments into the show. We appreciate it. It's been a little chaotic. Billy Ray is loving the fact that we're live here, and I'm loving it too, even though these lights are harsh on my pale face. A little bit of quick news and notes, and then a little bit of National Signing Day. For one thing, Chance Wiggins, one of our National Signing Day guys, he's been practicing with the team, which is kind of like one of those high school loopholes that happens, and I think he's going to be an early enrollee, but that's very cool for one of our young wide receivers to be working out with the team. I also wanted to note, if you guys haven't checked out the Boundary Corner State of the Program podcast that just came out, we had Kevin Drones on that show. Keelan Adams, his father, was also on that show. It was a very, very cool opportunity for me to be on with the Boundary Corner guys, and they live streamed it, and now it's on their podcast feed. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you check it out. But those guys, those two fathers, they gave a lot of great insight into the program and to how this staff recruits, how they get these guys coached up, and even I asked them some tough questions. Like we've watched the Bowen offense for a couple years prior to the Pitt game struggled, and I asked Kyron's dad straight up, like, did you ever lose faith in this staff and the offense while that was all going on? He said no. And he really believed, he trusted the process, and that's where we are now. And then I asked Keelan Adams' dad, like, Keelan Adams is our top recruit, arguably, depending on what service you look at. Tremendous recruit. He's coming into a room full of 4 wide receivers that all decided to come back to school. That's not maybe what you want to see if you're a young stud wideout. But his dad said, like, this is a great opportunity for him to learn and progress. And I love the way he answered the question. So that leads me to my finer point was just that check out that podcast. It was really good. The Boundary Corner guys do a great job. As for National Signing Day on the whole, the coverage from Triumph was phenomenal. And I have to give Zach Mackey, all those guys that work for Triumph, I know a lot of them are working for peanuts. And they did a tremendous job with the coverage. Coach Pry and his staff did a tremendous job with the setup. They had the Virginia Tech draft, so to speak, kind of set up again. They live streamed it this year, and it was so cool to be able to watch that. Here's a couple details about the class. 6 out of 19 of the guys are from Virginia. 2 more are from Maryland, and 4 more are from North Carolina. And that is if you include Copeland and Peebles. So we're getting our portal guys in there. But 6, 2, 4. That's 12 guys of the 19 from the footprint. It's a very small class. Very small. So if you look at the ranking, sure, it's around 45 in the country from the overall ranking. But we have to take a step back. Let's look at the average recruit rank, right? That's sitting right at number 31 in the country, coming off a 3-win season and what they have just built into a bowl season. So to me, to be 31st in the country in the average recruiting ranking, I think the highest since 2010, go back and check, 87.89. Pretty sure that's the highest since 2010. This was a good class. And with Pry creating those relationships and building upon those relationships, it's only going to get better and better. So I was pleased with the haul. The other thing that you need to know about the National Signing Day class, 15 or 16 recruits, 4 were in the top 15 in Virginia. We didn't have any in the top 15 in Virginia last year. 0, not 1. This year, we had 4. And I put out the tweet saying that Penn State had 6 in the top 15 last year. This year, Penn State had 0. You can say Penn State had different objectives. You can say, oh, the Virginia class wasn't as good this year. Penn State didn't want those guys. It is progress. UNC, Penn State, Maryland. None of them had a successful year in the state of Virginia. We did. If we're getting poached by Georgia, I can deal with that. Getting poached by Penn State, Maryland, some of those other schools, that's harder for me to stomach. And so I was very pleased to see Penn State had 0 guys in the top. I'm not sure they had any guys in the top 20 this year out of Virginia. Let's move on to some of these bowl updates because the game is upon us. It is 12:30. We're getting closer and closer to game time. The Tulane guys that are out, the quarterback, Pratt, is out. That's huge. Brazel, their wide receiver, is out. Jackson, their wide receiver, is out. Their left guard, this has gone a little under the radar. We've heard about Pratt and the wideouts. Their left guard is out, Pines. And their star cornerback, Monroe. They had 2 really good cornerbacks. This team had 17 interceptions this year. One of those corners is out. Monroe is out. He had 10 pass breakups on the year and 3 interceptions. Not playing. And their free safety, Douglas, also not playing. That's huge. I will say one thing I'm nervous about is their top 9 tackle for loss guys are back for the game. Yes, Devin Deal is playing. Their defensive end who goes by the dog position, he is playing. And then Cooper is also playing. So for all the Hokies that are feeling good, hey, we're 10.5-point favorites, listen, I want to go out there, I want to kick butt, and I do think our defense is going to come to play and play well. I am nervous about their defense shutting down our run a little bit. You know that's what we want to do. It's raining. The weather's terrible. That's why I'm so grateful to be inside here at the Graduate Hotel in Annapolis broadcasting live. But I'm nervous about our run game getting off, especially when they know that's what we're going to want to do. Now, the good news is we've got our 4 wide receivers back. The bad boys are here. They're ready to play. And I think Kyron, despite the weather, is going to be able to produce because they're missing a couple safeties on Tulane. Now, we're also missing a couple safeties. We know that Peoples is out. We know that Stroman is out. They're both recovering from surgery. So it's going to be a challenge today. With the weather, both teams are going to want to run the football. I hope that whatever wide receivers are left for Tulane aren't getting loose in the backfield, because that's the only thing I could see kind of undoing us is if they have wide receivers running free down the middle of the field. Or we also know how important our safeties are to the run defense. A lot of times, Stroman and Peoples had to come up and supplement those linebackers. And if they're out, that's a fear for me. Mekhi Hughes, the running back for Tulane, 1,290 yards this year, 7 touchdowns. He's a good player, a very good player. And despite missing their left guard, they're going to want to run the football. And so that's something that I'm watching. I'm a little fearful of, is just the way they decide to move the football on the ground. Kai Horton, their quarterback, at least that's who I believe to be the starting quarterback for Tulane today. He played 2 games. He started 2 games. One was against Ole Miss. He also started against Southern Miss. He took 7 sacks in those 2 games. We are going to be able to bring down Horton in the backfield. I believe it wholeheartedly. APR, Norrell Pollard, all of those guys that are coming back for next year, Fuga, Cole Nelson, we're going to be able to get to Kai Horton and bring him down. But it's the run game, it's the screen game, it's the maybe throwing to some guys we're not expecting. That's what I worry about with this Tulane game. Moving on to their defense. I talked a little bit about their defensive ends playing. Oh, one last note about offense. Their tight end, Alex Bowman, right now, scheduled to play. Early on in the bowl process, we weren't sure if we were going to see Bowman. But right now, he is scheduled to play, and that's a concern. One positive note. Here's a positive note. 82nd in yards per rush on the season for Tulane. 82nd from an offensive standpoint, 82nd in yards per rush. That's not very good. As I was saying about the defense, this is a very good run defense. If you talk to me before, if we were just regular season game, before the bowl, before the opt-outs, before they lost their defensive coordinator, I would have said, okay, they're 9th in the country in average yards per carry. That's not good. That is not a matchup that favors the Hokies. But against SMU and against UTSA, their last 2 opponents, good opponents, but nevertheless, their last 2 opponents, they gave up 193 and 177 on the ground and about 4.4 yards per carry to both of those teams. So it's, although the overall numbers for this defense are good, it's always a question of what have you done for me lately? And I'm not seeing it from the Tulane rush defense lately. They have dudes. They have Cooper. They have Jenkins. They have Devin Deal. But I think they are still susceptible to a guy like Bashal Tootin, who is an elite runner at this level. And I agree with this comment. Keith from Virginia. Kevin Drones was great. Kevin Drones, on the Badger Corner podcast this past week, a show I was on as a guest, he was great. Billy, can you get me a Modelo?
What?
A Modelo? Thank you. I'm trying to drink light. Eventually, I got to drive home today, but for right now, we're going to drink a couple of light beers. Thank you, Billy, for grabbing me that. But yes, Kevin was great. Back to the Tulane game. At full strength, when they have their DC on a whole season basis, yes, it was a good run defense. without their DC, and after the last 2 games I've seen, I think we are going to have some opportunities, especially when you consider the SMU quarterback ran for 63 yards on 15 carries. I feel like Kyron, they probably don't want to run him a ton because you don't want to get your returning quarterback hurt before the following season. Nevertheless, we're going to run Kyron. We will run Kyron, and I think he will have success, and I think that's going to be our best chance to gain yards as overall. Like, Tootin's going to get his yards, but I honestly think Kyron's run game and the read option and when he decides to keep or give, those reads are going to be extremely important today for how good we are in our yards per rush, because so much of our offense depends on that aptitude from the quarterback, when to keep, when to give. But I trust, at this point, from what we've seen this year, I trust KD, I trust Bayshaw in any opportunity that they have to run the football. And I want to run the football. Thank you, Billy. These guys, I mean, this is what we have to look forward to next year, is the run game, what they can provide us. And I think today will be the beginning of what we see all year next. We've already seen it. I mean, we've seen it in the UVA game. We saw it in all the games we won. And that's the funny thing about this team, right? Every time we stepped on the field against a team where we played well, we beat their you know what. And we went out there, we won by a couple touchdowns in all of those games. But this team provides a different challenge because this team probably isn't as good as a Florida State or a Louisville. We know that. But it's an 11-win team. So they're probably not as bad as a BC or a Syracuse or a UVA. This is an in-between. So what kind of game? Because we've seen our floor and we've seen Virginia Tech's ceiling, and it's a wide gap. So where do we fall in this game? Are we able to win a close one? We haven't won a close one this year. And honestly, when we lose, we haven't lost a close one either. Not in a while. So this is one of those in-between games where the spread can be what it wants to be. To me, this is going to be like, it's going to be a touchdown game. It's going to be a 3-point game. I think it's going to be tighter than what maybe Vegas is projecting right now. And we got a comment from John right here. Go Birds. Billy would love it. We got a Go Birds comment here. John LaRourke is in on the chat with the Go Birds.
Oh, we got K Drones on here. Let's
Kevin.
go.
That's it. Yeah,
We got Kevin from VA, JP Nelson, Chris Scruggs, Trash Can Hokies. I'm excited. I think I gotta tell you,
the fan base is engaged.
you didn't ask me a question. People are just excited. The overall feeling of Virginia Tech is it's up. That's how it's feeling.
I'm gonna do it.
I'm gonna do it. No, I'm excited. This is when was the last time we felt this good heading into a bowl game?
It's been a long time. And this is something Billy was talking to me about earlier. Do we feel too good going into this bowl game? Is this the kind of, well, listen, a bowl game is supposed to be a celebration of the season.
Yeah.
And I do think that's what we have here. But we should register in our minds it is possible to lose.
Yeah.
However,
I
don't think we can understate how Pry has said repeatedly, making a statement matters.
Yeah.
Do you think we make that statement today?
I think it's incredibly important. Like, I think there's probably a handful of schools that really give a damn about this bowl game. I think so much of it has to do with, what do you expect to be next year? Like Kansas. Last night meant a lot for Kansas. What were they, an 8-win team, a 9-win team going into the bowl game?
And they could have been more. Yeah. They care.
I think this team means a lot. I mean, 95% of this team is going to be back playing next year. I think it's an opportunity, one, to get. Everyone's like, okay, we got to rest Kyron Drones. This is an opportunity for Kyron Drones to get another opportunity to play in an FBS college football game as a starter.
And this is a good team.
And it's a good team that cares a lot about this game. All the Tulane people I talked to about last night were they have an offensive lineman who's transferring to Louisville or Duke.
They do have one offensive lineman who's out.
Well, there's one that's transferring that said, I want to play in this game. I'm not transferring until I play in this game. They have a really good freshman running back. So I think this game means it's one of those rare bowl games where it means a ton to one school and it doesn't mean a lot to the other school. So I'm excited about it. I think we got a really good chance to make. Who we got here?
That's Jeremy.
Jeremy, I love you, Jeremy. I wish you were here, my friend. Oh my gosh, I love you, Jeremy. Cheers to you, my friend.
The state of the program with Jeremy and Kevin and a bunch of those other guys was a lot of fun. Cheers. Maybe too sober right now.
Thanks for doing this, my man. And shout out to wherever we are, the graduate.
The graduate in Annapolis.
Wi-Fi.
Dude, the Wi-Fi. I'm on the hotel Wi-Fi. It's working perfectly.
People can hear us fine because it's loud in here.
They said they can hear us. The chat is saying they can
more often.
It's working. It's working. My laptop might die at some point, but for right now,
you're good. You got plenty of issues.
Well, send over Patrick or somebody for an interview, but we're going to do a little bit more talk here about the game, about just the season and going into next year, because I remember, I think it was the TSL podcast, was talking a little bit about our recruiting class and just how it's looking with the scholarships and how the old saying is, we'll always make room, right? Like there's always room for more scholarship players. If Chris Cole all of a sudden wanted to be a Hokie, we would find room. That is true. For Chris Cole, we would find room. But for 3 stars, I'm not sure that's the case. We're in a position now where we've taken on so many guys that want to come back to the Hokies, which is a great problem. I was talking a little bit just about the roster and how we've got all these guys coming back and we've got all the freshmen coming in. This might be the first time where we're in a roster crunch. Like we're actually in maybe a talent crunch. How excited are you for next year and the way this roster is filling out and just like the floor of the team as opposed to floor of the team in seasons past?
So, Pete, there's a couple of variables that you need to consider here when looking at 2024. And one of the things that I'm looking at, obviously the roster, we know we have a lot of guys coming back. What about the schedule?
The schedule is favorable. One of the best teams on the schedule is probably Georgia Tech. In terms of a quarterback, Clemson.
Georgia Tech, Clemson at home, Miami on the road. It's going to be probably a toss-up. And then everyone's excited about the Stanford game. I'm really excited about going to the Stanford game. But just that travel is going to take a toll on the team in some capacity. Listen, sidebar. Okay, let me get a little frustrated. ACC Network, ESPN, why do we have to wait until 2024 to get the 2024 season schedule? Okay, I'm sick and tired of seeing the Big Ten schedule out. I know the SEC schedule's out.
The pairings are out, I believe, for Big Ten.
Okay,
I don't know if the actual schedule's out.
We always have to wait. You know, we want to book our flights. We want to book our hotels. We want to start planning that tailgate for Stanford and Miami and Clemson and Georgia Tech and what have you. And we can't do it because we're not hearing until January 31st.
Well, speaking of which, the Suns are getting something together for Nashville. Is that right?
We are. I see to all the live folks on here, we do have a big-time Nashville weekend planned. We got some hotel blocks. We got a tailgate in the works. We got tickets in the works as well. It's somewhere on our Twitter feed. We'll be blasting it over the next few days.
I'm pumped, dude.
And probably have some news on updates of what packages you can get after New Year's Day.
I did want to clarify this comment. Kevin Drones is Kyron's dad. Kevin Drones is Kyron's dad. He was on the Boundary Corner podcast on their State of the Program. It was not a missay. It was not a mistake. Kevin Drones is Kyron's dad.
Kevin Drones was great on that pod.
He was so good.
Pete was great on that pod. Everyone who's participated, I watched a good hour of that the other day. Kevin Drones.
It was a long one. It was
like 3.5 hours. I was like, oh, good golly, this is longer than a football game.
Everyone was getting drunk. Jeremy was on there. We had a good time.
I did see Jeremy. Jeremy hanging
Proud
out.
sponsor of the Sons of
Yes,
Saturday.
Our guy, Jeremy. Happy New Year, Dr. Lord Jeremy Counts. Happy New Year. And Pete, you've been crushing it this season as well.
I've been trying.
Like, look at this, man. Pete says, hey, we're going to go live in the tailgate. we got selfies going on.
PP is a legend. We got Mr. Finn in the house. We got a lot of people.
We got K-Fin.
Oh, it's K-Finn. And this isn't Junior right here. This is the real deal.
Senior. This is it.
I got the 2014 Military Bowl shirt on.
He's
Been
ready.
kicking butt.
But the real deal is here. Apps Blue Ribbon.
Oh,
Lane Stadium does
PBR
sell
sponsorship.
PBR. If you weren't aware, go to Benny's in Lane
These
Stadium.
sellouts here, they'll let anybody sponsor them. No, we did get a question in the chat. What is everybody drinking? What are you sipping on, Pat?
Right now, they have Modelo on draft here, so I call it a Modelo for the fellow.
Listen, this guy is quicker than anyone with the random saying to rhyme with something. Pat is, like, I pride myself on being a little corny like that. He's better than literally anyone. Just watch the Slam Jam. 90% of that was off the cuff. I am also drinking a Modelo, but
Hey,
I already had a Beam and Coke. I already had a winter lager from Sam. I'm going to do a couple more of the beers. I don't think I'm actually going out in that weather today. These guys are going to brave the elements. I'm sitting in my butt in a nice warm bar watching this game. What section are you in, Pat?
so we're not in Section 5. We're not in Section 3. Hearing a lot of folks in those. We're in Section 8 today. I'm fired up about it. It's going to be fun. We're Section 8, rows 8 through 11. We're going to try to get a Section 8 win photo today. It's a wood table, knock on wood.
Yeah, we need that win photo, man.
We need that win photo in the rain, in the poncho effect, as always. So Section 8, come through if you're around.
I like this comment. I've been to a lot of VT games, but made my debut as VT Mikey Myers at the Q's game. Were you sitting in Section 5, though? Because that was a hell of a game. That game, my first time doing a full game with these guys, that was a celebration. For 30 minutes in that second half, we had Don't Stop Believing. That was a blast.
GoPro.
Oh, dude. That Syracuse game, was that the best game of the year?
No.
Because of UVA? The Pitt game was better?
Yeah, so on our last podcast that we did, kind of like summarizing the year, we had a lot of ranking like the best moment, the best touchdown, the best play, the best crowd, the best atmosphere, blah, blah, blah. And Pitt we just kept rolling Pitt. Pitt kept coming up.
People kept talking about it.
Billy Ray was like, hey, I think the Syracuse game was like a top 3 game I've ever been to. And then we were like, dude, what about all these awards we just gave out for Pittsburgh? So it was the Pittsburgh game.
I like that because I was there at the other one, but yeah. Now the Pitt game was, you know what was special about the Pitt game was that it was, we might be back for this season. We might actually make a play.
It was a call to arms.
Right. It was all hands on deck. Let's not let this season die. And it surprised us all. Like, I know Pitt wasn't having a good year, but we all, if you're a Virginia Tech fan, you know
about Pitt.
You know Pitt comes to play. You have to take your game up a notch, and we came out and we stuffed them in a locker, so to speak. Now, they made it competitive. The defense gave up some long touchdowns, but that did turn around the season.
Pitt turned around the season. However, the best tailgate was the Rutgers game.
That was
the best tailgate was in Piscataway.
We were all up in New Jersey. The Suns had set up a tailgate similar to what they're going to do for Nashville. Tickets, spot, everything was all set up. We had an absolute blast. T-shirts, the whole 9 yards. And we didn't get the result we wanted, but we did get to see Kyron start a game in his first start, right?
Yeah.
And we might have lost the game, but he showed that he could play at this level in that game. Did you get that feeling?
Yeah, absolutely. There was unfortunate events that happened that game. You know, we gave the ball to them
fumble
right at the beginning of the game. We missed a field goal in the first half. Our run game couldn't stop anything. And also there was that long pass to Daquan Felton.
Yeah,
that
he dropped.
I think he lost it in the sun.
And he
Probably
turned
would've been
his
a touchdown.
season around after that.
He did.
Like that was the last time we really saw Felton make a mistake.
So the Rutgers game, if you're up there, we've seen this team at the bottom.
Oh, here we go. What do you think about our chances for Rutgers 2024?
All right, Hokie Tiger, we're going to be a 6-point favorite at home against
6
Rutgers
points?
next year. Yeah, we keep having this debate about Rutgers in the group chat.
Let the Suns get in here. Squeeze me out.
Section 4, I was on the jumbo a lot. Shout out to VT Mike Myers.
Hey, we're kind of in a flow right now.
Oh, my bad.
He's
We're
good.
talking about Rutgers.
No, he's good.
No, you guys talk about Rutgers. That's important. Talk about Rutgers. No, that's good. Go ahead.
I can't wait to watch this tape later and crush him for what he just did.
No, I thought Billy was going to come right in there. He got caught up in the comments.
He was reading the tweets.
No,
He was reading the comments.
Listen, Rutgers is getting better. Under Shianu, they have gotten better.
Yes.
But at home, with all of our guys coming back, and I think they may be losing a couple guys, we should absolutely win the Rutgers game.
So
We're going to be favored. I would imagine we'll be favored.
same quarterback, same running back.
Okay. The quarterback can't throw.
You clean up the run defense, you're going to figure it out, and our offense is going to move the ball more than we did against Rutgers. Their defense was good last year as well.
It was.
But their end of the season was like this. Our end of the season was like this.
And they've been struggling.
Their schedule was beyond a bear. They
was
had
bad.
Penn State, they had Michigan, they had Ohio State, they had Iowa, they had Maryland.
And they're hilariously playing Miami in the bowl game. And that's in a baseball stadium. They haven't been stopping the run lately. They did it okay against us before we changed our offense up. Next year, they're losing some defensive line guys. I think we'll be able to run the ball on them. And with Tootin and drones, I think we'll be all right next year. But thank you for the question, Hokie Tiger. I think we're about to call it. I think it's about 12:51. We're getting ready to wrap up the pregame show. I really do appreciate all you guys hanging in. Me and Pat started a little conversation about the roster. Might have to save that. Right now, Andy Bitter and me, we both tracked this. We're at about 90 scholarships for next year. Attrition is coming. It's coming. But today is all about the Hokies keeping up the momentum. God, these lights are harsh. Keeping up the momentum and getting a win. Because what Pry can sell in the offseason, if we get this win, this is a winning record in year 2. A 7-win team when we were dead in the water at 1-3. This is something he can sell, and that's what coaches are these days. They are salesmen. Pat, thank you for hanging out. Billy, thanks for the beer. We're going to call it from this
42-13 Hokies.
Oh, 42. You
That's
think
a
we're
lot of
covering?
points. I don't know
This guy
if we're
thinks we're
scoring
covering.
42 points.
But you think even if it's I don't think we're going to cover. But I think we're going to win. Shane Beamer Power 2014 Military Bowl. Harking it back. We're wearing the American flag helmets just like we did in 2014. We're going to get this win. Let's go, Hokies. Thank you for all the comments. 69-0. Nice. Let's get a W, Scruggs. Appreciate everyone hanging out.
See you guys post game.
Go, Hokies.